Hey, happy Monday. Hey, Nicole, how are you?
Kurt, I'm doing great. It's weird to see you on the Zoom. I just saw you in person last week, so
I
it's a
know. We were
little,
hanging so yeah,
yeah.
we're hanging out in Niagara Falls. Damon, happy Monday.
hmm
Your Seahawks won. How was your weekend,
Yeah.
my friend?
It was a great weekend, man. Great
Great
weekend.
weekend. Yeah, and you know what, Nicole, I don't know if you knew that he took his mom to the Seahawks game last week. So how did mom have a good time
Nice.
at the game?
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
God, how
Very
cool is that?
nice.
Take his mom.
Yeah.
How old's mom, Damon? How old is
80.
80? Took 80-year-old mom to a Seahawks game. It was our first NFL game. God bless her. She was decked out in all of her Seahawks garb. So, all right, man, we have a super, super exciting program here today. This is like a year in the making. So I want to introduce a couple folks here. So we got Bret Boyd, CEO of Sustainment. Bret, I guess good afternoon for some of us, right? Good afternoon, good morning. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you. Appreciate you having us.
Absolutely. Trevor Bryant, how are you, my friend? What's happening? Happy Monday to you. How's things in your world?
Things are going great. Thank you for having us, and appreciate being here.
Okay, so I'm going to do a little background here. So, Damon, you ready for this one? Okay, you
Ready to go.
All right. So, our friend Bret Boyd. So, I've had the honor and privilege, met Bret for like 2 minutes a year ago in Chicago. Bret, you are a force to reckon with. And so, first off, thank you for your service to our country, my friend. 4 tours to Iraq. 4 tours to Iraq. Army, just veteran, West Point grad. Why four? How like talk to us about the 4 tours? You piqued my curiosity. Can you just take us there for a minute?
Yeah, I mean, look, I appreciate the sentiment first off. So, and I think it's more of a timing thing. So, look, I was a senior at West Point when the towers went down. We were kind of the war class for the Iraq War, and I served as an infantry officer in the 75th Ranger Regiment that did I guess a lot of back and forth to different combat theaters around the world. So call it a timing incident as opposed to any specific aptitude here.
Well, I appreciate your humility. And so and again, just for those of us, I appreciate your humble, very kind, gracious, just for those of us that just admire the work that you did. Give us a takeaway. 4 tours. What was like, from being, overseas, representing the country. Give us like a little takeaway from your perspective, representing the United States overseas.
Yeah, I mean, look, so at the end of the day here, so I'm a software entrepreneur now, and we're going to get into this whole thing about building companies. But I actually think there's a lot of connectivity between my time in the military, right? I mean, so military service, again, this is in the kind of special operations light infantry world with extremely capable people working on extremely interesting and difficult things. It's all about building teams and solving problems.
Nice.
And empowering people to do great work. I think that's success in the military. We watch all these movies where you got the all the hard up, everybody's running around yelling at each other and so on. And in my experience, it's a lot more around just empowering teams to do what they do. And I actually think software companies and companies in general kind of work the same way. It's about building teams and solving problems. It's a little different when nobody's shooting at you and you're trying to code in Python as opposed to, do whatever. But there are some commonalities there.
Right. Well, I love it. Leadership, teamwork, camaraderie, agree with all of that. So again, you've had a great big background. We're going to dig into that. Your post-military career, you became a tech superstar. We're going to get into sustainment. Trevor, let's get a little back into your background, long-time manufacturing. Let's talk about your path and how you've made this evolution into like more tech. What's your story, please?
Originally I had an automotive background as an auto tech and a service manager, and then moved over to working in the tool industry for Snap-on Tools, a large U.S. manufacturer, and out on the sales side on that. And then, as time went on, job changes and development over the years and different experiences, I ended up as a sales director for a company that sold metrology equipment. So really the last step in manufacturing to make sure good products are going out the door. Then from there, shifted over to the software side, working for a large distributor of Autodesk software. So really at the very other end of manufacturing, more on the building side, and then moved into actually right in the mainstream, working in a manufacturing facility where we did custom machining, oversaw the custom machining division sales department we did precision custom machining all the way to volume custom machining. And we also had a division of the company that did automation and made our own equipment as well. So really we had internal and external customers. And we did as much sourcing here inside the US as we could and had customers all over the world. So, and then that was what led me to Sustainment here, is seeing opportunities out there and challenges that were out there, and happened to get hooked up with Sustainment and was all on board for what Bret and the team were trying to do here.
All right, absolutely love it. And so again, the mission here is growing U.S. manufacturers. Love it, Bret. Let's take us through the journey on your end. You know, a lot of, again, guys, catching this, you want to connect with Trevor on LinkedIn, connect with Bret on LinkedIn. You're going to love their background, love what they're doing, especially for our manufacturing friends out there. They have an extremely dynamic, powerful solution. So, Bret, just walk us through like your post-military career, kind of this tech evolution, and how did you kind of plant your entrepreneurial flag into Sustainment?
Yeah, so I think it's actually, I mean, I like to look at the world in terms of problems that need to be solved. And I think, you know, there is a very interesting and dynamic problem that needs to be solved in this world of manufacturing that we work in here. Right? When you look at manufacturing, there are, it depends on kind of whose data you look at, but call it somewhere between 270,000 and 300,000 manufacturers in the United States. So you've got a big industry. It constitutes something on the order of 11% of GDP and 12% of employment are in these 300,000 businesses. But when you look at the characteristics of these businesses, they are primarily small. So just under 99% are small businesses by NAICS code. And around 83% of manufacturers in the United States are sub 50 employee businesses, right? So you have this massive, fundamentally, structurally, and even socially important industry to the United States that is really contained in this long tail of small and medium businesses that are spread throughout the entirety of America. I've never validated this, but I suspect every city, every county in the nation has a manufacturing footprint. And when you look at how the industry has evolved here over the past 10 years, there have been some pretty powerful businesses that have been created to help you connect with manufacturing suppliers on the other side of the world. You know, everybody talks about Alibaba as the platform business that they know. There are others that work in these different areas, but if I want to go find a manufacturer on the other side of the world, I can generally have a technology-enabled experience to go find, compare, do business with, manage projects, communicate, share information, et cetera. Like I can have kind of a technology-enabled experience to do that overseas. But if we look at how that happens in the United States, there's still a lot of friction in the way that this works. And that starts from, hey, I need a supplier to help with, you know, injection molding or with whatever. And, you know, the solution to that tends to be like, hey, who knows a guy, you know, to go find a business, or Googling around for a lot of these websites that, you know, that candidly are not optimized for search engine optimization and all of that kind of stuff. And so, you know, when we look at it, we just see a system that could be made better. And there are a lot of people who are trying to like onshore and localize manufacturing. And there are some like serious constraints and friction points to doing it. And we want to knock some of those down. But probably most importantly, we want to do this in a way that actually helps the small and medium supplier. I mean, there are way too many of these businesses that have grown up that when you talk to manufacturers, they'll say, hey, like, you know, company X is great. Like it allows me to really efficiently lose business to a Chinese company or, you know, or so on. And so we really wanted to build this business kind of around the ethos of being the company to help enable, empower, and support small American manufacturers. We actually set this up like we're a public benefit corporation, specifically anchored around that mission. We're going through the B Corp certification. We are free for suppliers, and it's not a trick. We're not trying to be, you know, free and tell X, but we're actually our platform is free for suppliers, and it's an important commitment to us. So we started that. We started this business in early 2020. You know, we've gone down the venture capital track. So we've gone through. We're like a Series A stage venture backed business. We have a line of business in the Department of Defense. We actually presented this idea way back at the very beginning to the Air Force, and are part of the solution whereby the Air Force depots find and connect and do business with their manufacturing suppliers. Then we also have a commercial business where again we kind of work in this space in between manufacturing buyers and manufacturing suppliers to help them more efficiently do business together, starting from finding companies, comparing companies, working through the PO process with companies, securely sharing technical data with companies, all the way through basically project management and really getting work done. That's kind of our once over the world around how we started and how we got to where we are.
I love that. I think that's just so, lead time is one thing that you hear all the time from customers in manufacturing, that they want their lead times to be, how can it be shorter? How can I get what I need faster? And we saw COVID really created a lot of disruption there with global supply chain and everything. And I just love that this solution can really help that. What are you seeing? Like, how are you seeing your solution, the connection you're making in the supply chain? How is that impacting lead times for these American manufacturers by keeping everything local this way?
Well, I guess a first general principle is that I would say that this onshoring, actually that's not a great word. Let's call it this localization of manufacturing supply chains. This is a secular shift that, candidly, I have bet my career on, that I think will define the next 20 years of the global economy. Like, this is real, it's happening. And again, we want to play a small part in helping facilitate that. But this whole idea of like technology and more capable equipment driving localization at the same time, the risk dynamic of all of these fully outsourced supply chain, like this convergence is really creating a generational inflection point that are causing folks to think about how to localize, how to actually not just have everything optimized for cost and be as cheap as possible. But think about resiliency and redundancy, and
Amen.
Well, and I think too, Bret, you brought this up a while ago when you were talking. You said that 83% of these are less than 50 people. They often have websites or a digital presence that are not optimized for SEO. You can have suppliers in your town, the town next door, that you never even know about. Right. And you go across the globe to try to find something that your best supplier could be next door. And if I look at your system and I go, if you did nothing but do that, it will be huge for the manufacturing industry in the United States.
Yeah.
No, you bet. And the US, and this is going to be a gross oversimplification, but just to generalize this, is that it almost, there are these silos. There are these geographical and these industry silos of just businesses that know each other. And again, it's not ill-intentioned. It's not anybody's fault, but you just have these little kind of regional and industry ecosystems. And while you've had all of this innovation around, equipment, again, we kind of grew up in people building airplane parts, but there is so much cross-pollination between, if you have the ability to build parts in aerospace and aviation, you can also support, medical device, semiconductor manufacturing equipment, the list goes on. And I think just by, building these together into a network, there's a ton of value to unlock. And again, it like for the small businesses, but also like for our country. And as far as this whole like national economic security that's important to take very seriously as well.
Yeah, I love that. And, we talk a lot about like the CRMs, out there, and I love what you guys, you're the supplier relationship software solution. And so, Trevor, if you want to chime in, add a few comments, but I know we want to dig. I know the three of us on stage here, we are dying for a little demo and just kind of take us on a tour. Anything that you want to chime in or any feedback that you have to blend in with the conversation. And then I was wondering if you want to actually pull up the website so we can take a peek.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I would touch on is, Nicole's comment about lead times being such a struggle. Having a manufacturing background, really one of the bigger challenges we solve around that also is not just the lead time of getting delivery, but just your turnaround time on getting a quote. because lots of times manufacturers are just sitting there saying,
Yep.
I just need a price. I don't even have the work yet. I just need a price. And we are huge at solving that. Then they can drill down further and say, okay, which price is the best, which quote is the best lead times, and really kind of take it from there.
That's a really good point, because, you know, if you can get the price to the customer, you know, faster than the competitor, you know, you're already building that relationship of responsiveness and trust. So it's a really great point.
Yeah. You might not even be the cheapest. You might, you know, but having that competitive advantage is just, you know, that communication is just so critical. Absolutely love it. Trevor, do you want to pop up your screen and we'll take a peek at what's going on here at Sustainment?
Yes, definitely.
Perfect. And what, you know what? So Damon, was there like a supply chain thing going on in the past couple of years that I wasn't aware of?
Someone said something about it in passing. Yeah.
Is it too soon? Can I say that joke yet? Or I'm just kidding. So, all right, let's go here. So, all right, guys, sit back, grab you. If you're having lunch, enjoy your lunch, because we're going to take you on a little tour of Sustainment. It's sustainment.tech. And Trevor, what do we see here? What's going on?
Yeah, so two things. One, I've got you guys on two screens, so if you see me popping back and forth, it's because I'm looking over there to see your faces. Yep. So really what we're looking at here is just the resources tab. So this is just a landing page for manufacturers to go to find resources that are available to them in their area that are more related to like the MEPs and government type of resources that are there to assist and help manufacturers. And really from here, you can kind of see the platforms broken out here on the side, on the left nav, into a couple of different sections. One, you've got your home, which is going to take you to some conversation history, things that are important to you, you know, most recent activity. Then you've also got your find suppliers, your buyers section here, and then your suppliers section. So this is really where I'm going to kind of dive into in talking about where a buyer would use our platform, and then where a supplier or more of the sales side of the team would use the platform, because there are multiple different job functions inside a facility that would want to use our platform. And everything I show you today, as Bret had mentioned, is free up to a certain usage level, but a small to medium-sized manufacturer can jump on here, access everything, use the tools for free. On the supply side, it would always stay free for them. So they're going to come in here and they want to be made aware and work and actively be a part of projects. That's something that has no charge for them as a U.S. manufacturer. The buyer's side, there are different levels and different pay structures or fee structures, but we're going to avoid most of that today and just kind of talk about what the platform can do for them. And then I'm happy to do one-on-one demos, Q&A for anybody that wants to set up a meeting with me as well. Perfect. From where I'm going to start here is I'm going to actually jump into the Find Suppliers tab first. And I'm logged in as if I'm in the Denver area. So you'll see it's kind of really focused here in Colorado. But we have approximately over 14,000 manufacturers represented in our platform, all at different levels of engagement. You know, some registered, logged in, using it on a daily basis, other ones that we're still just getting onto the platform. But you'll see the different, concentricity here right around the Denver area and this Colorado market. If we were to show if I showed all the country at one time, you'd pretty much just see a big red blob. From here, you can do things like filter down and search by area, search by certification, by process type, whatever you want to do, and the map will readjust and look for what you're looking for by keyword or by area you're looking in. So if I wanted to go in for a quick example here, you were up in Seattle, if I remember correctly at the introduction, we could click search, and boom, we're going to reorient the map, take a look over in Seattle area there. So this is how you're going to find your suppliers that are local to you in your neighborhood. This can be everything from a large buyer looking for someone to get a project together with, even to a smaller manufacturer who's just looking for someone to send heat treating type of work to, you know, or to outsource something for capability or capacity. And you can access that find suppliers from inside of a project as well. But really, for looking at this from a buyer's perspective or from a supplier's perspective, you would go in and you would work with either my suppliers or my customers. They function the same, so I'm just going to kind of live in one of them, just for example's sake, rather than have a very redundant presentation of showing you the same thing twice. So really, what we're looking at here is all the suppliers on the platform that I'm connected to. These are all the different manufacturers that I am connected to here. And then from there, I can put those manufacturers into lists. So, and lists can be used quite a few different ways. You have your favorite people to go to for doing milling, your approved vendors for doing Swiss machining, your approved third-party metrology labs, your A2LA labs. So you can really put these into buckets. And what's important for you as a buyer, especially if you're at a larger company, is typically someone else has approved those vendors. They get into that list, and now you just quickly and easily know who to go to for what type of work. So nice streamlined way to keep everybody on the same page, using the same process and working efficiently to outsource projects. From here, you can take a look here. I've just chosen, this is kind of my big group of suppliers here, so I can do what I want. You take a look here for this big test project. This could be a different type of project I'm running. You'll see the different suppliers out there that are approved to work in that project. And you see things like the NDA flag. That's letting the buyer know, or the supplier, whatever, instantly that there's an NDA on file with this manufacturer, which is very important to your small to medium-sized manufacturers, because now you've organized and put this all into one place. I have worked at companies in the past where you could find NDAs in 4 different places. They could be in the file cabinet at reception when they signed it when they came in. They could be in the CFO or the CIO's desk, or folders, I should say, file folders. They could be on a shared drive for everybody to have access to, or they could be in the CRM. This is a nice way for a company of any size, because this is unlimited access for the NDAs, to have the ability to organize their NDAs, quickly see who they have an NDA on file with. And not only that, the ability to request NDA signatures to be electronically signed right through the platform. So it'd just be as simple as request an NDA signature. It's going to electronically go to those people. They sign it. The signed version comes back, and boom, you have it, a copy of it right here on record.
Hey, Trevor, real quick, I'm going to pop in. So we've got a couple of questions coming in from Karen. Karen's a dear friend. She's heavily involved with Women in Manufacturing Association in Texas. So Karen, happy Monday to you. She has a comment here. Fascinating. What have you encountered as the biggest challenge to connect all the dots within the manufacturing ecosystem? I don't know, Bret or Trevor, you guys want to grab that one?
Yeah, I can jump in on that one. I mean, the biggest challenge is you actually need to provide value to manufacturers in order to get them to give you their time and attention, which is scarce, right? I mean, that's the hardest point of this is, you can say, hey, everybody, join the thing. And it's like, we got another list or another thing I got to join and another login that I have to remember and so on. And I guess what we found is you really need to give value. I mean, it's like what Trevor's showing you here is, so you've got the ability to have all your suppliers in one place. They're all pushing you accurate data around their processes, their certifications, everything that they do and what they have available and so on, so that they're ready for you to do projects with. And in order to, and so that needs to be valuable to suppliers, like to actually take the time to participate. And so if you can imagine this platform 3 years ago, it was relatively bare boned, and there was just the company profile. And then it went from the company profile to helping companies securely share technical data, which is part of this whole ongoing CMMC requirement for cybersecurity down the manufacturing supply chain. So then that's a give that we gave away to suppliers. And then this NDA thing coming up. So we said, look, let's actually make the investment to integrate like a whole document sharing and NDA sharing piece in here. And that's what, like, all of these different areas around data sharing and NDA management are useful tools to manufacturers, but then also have the benefit of, like, they're two-sided. So in order to be effective with that, you're actually recruiting one of your partners that you want to have your NDA in place with onto the platform. And so, this idea of like delivering value down to the small manufacturer so that they work with other small manufacturers on the platform is where we've found the most success.
I'll tell you, this is such a powerful solution. And then Karen follows up with, what's the approval process to get on the list?
So we are, so buyers make their own lists. And again, what we're trying to do is we're actually trying to take, usually we have purchasing, contracting, supply chain, operations, procurement, like these types of folks are actively in our software. And we actually want to make it easier for those men and women to do their jobs. We do not want to try to be a platform that takes them out of needing to do their jobs, right? So when what we're trying to do is we're actually trying to facilitate, if we get time, we'll go into a project like, hey, I need these parts to be built. And when I need these parts to be built, I'm actually not trying to, like, we're not Xometry or one of these platforms that just says, hey, give me the parts. We're actually trying to allow that person, that purchasing, contracting professional, to just really easily and seamlessly do their job, which is find multiple suppliers, compare them against each other, manage the assessment, evaluation, quoting, et cetera. And I say that, Karen, as a lead in, that the lists that you make for your company, those are your lists, right? Find them however you want. You can add companies to them however you want. And you actually own your own qualification of suppliers as well. Like, we do some data quality things, obviously, but we still actually think that there are companies have different processes that they use to vet and first article test and so on their suppliers.
Yeah.
And so we're keeping that in the hands of professionals who do that, just trying to make it faster and easier for them.
Perfect. Okay, great. And Bret, you mentioned if we had time to go, you would actually pull a project. So Trevor, I want to throw you off on your demo, but whenever take it from here, and then if you want to dig into a project, that'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. And then one of the things to talk a little bit about what Bret was just discussing there as well is when buyers invite their suppliers to the platform and they join the platform, that's when we really see a really high engagement as well. And we start to see great back and forths between those suppliers and buyers, and then watch them start to grow from there. Buyers adding new suppliers and suppliers finding new buyers as well. So one of the nice things for a buyer and a supplier that's beneficial for both here too is you'll see how this certification badge is pink right here. So this is an easy way for a buyer to be able to verify whether the certs are up to date for their suppliers that they're about to invite to this project. What's nice about that is when they send the request has already been sent on this, you can see on 712, but when they just, with the click of a button, request that they update their ISO certification or their FFL, whatever it happens to be that's either missing a file or expired. The nice thing is what's in it for that supplier is they're updating it for everybody to see now. It's not just going, that's not an email to one person as it would be in a, in a quote or something along that line. They're updating their profile. Everybody's seeing this updated information. And now everybody's finding it if they do an open search as well. So there's a benefit for the supplier on that side. And really, for a buyer creating a project with their existing supply chain, it is as simple as just checking the boxes, create a new project. They're going to create this RFQ. And really what's nice for them is now their buyer or their suppliers don't know how many people have been invited to this project necessarily, but instead of it being a BCC email that's going out to a dozen companies or whatever with communication going every direction, possibly subject lines getting changed and coming back, files getting attached that are too large to email, that's all being managed right here inside the platform. And I'll get to showing you where all that is housed in a second. But one of the things I wanted to show that is really key, especially if you're an ITAR company and you also want to make sure you have NDAs in place, by checking these boxes right here, if the company you send this request to is not ITAR registered and have their ITAR registration here on the platform loaded up, or they haven't signed your NDA, they will not have access to those files. They'll get the email saying, hey, you've been invited to a project, and then it'll say, but wait, there's more. Now you need to go in and sign the NDA, or you need to upload your ITAR registration. And I can tell you, I have been on the receiving end of ITAR documents when I did not work at an ITAR company. It happens out there. It happens every day. So and I've also been on the receiving end of getting ITAR information where they've had to give me a zip drive to carry with me because, not everybody knew things were going to travel securely. And that was the only way to have it happen. Right. And that's a waste of time. And that is a waste of resources. Right. So as opposed to having a free platform right here that could just transfer that data for you in that ITAR secure environment.
You guys are solving so many problems. Like it's crazy. And I don't mean to detract here, Trevor, but just the organization, like you guys have thought of like all these details where like every person in procurement is just like, jumping for joy right now to see what you guys are doing here. This is please keep going. This is awesome.
No, and you know what? Not only procurement should be jumping for joy, possibly legal should be jumping for
Yeah,
joy.
right.
As well.
Good point. Legal's giving a big thank you. Appreciate you guys. This is great.
So, so from here, I mean, really, you would just finish populating the project here, adding your files you needed to, selecting the different types of processes. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to a project that's kind of in limbo that's going on here. I'll choose this one that's actually been awarded because it has some, and it's a fake project, but it has some decent information around it.
Sure.
You come into the project, you can see, the suppliers that were chosen. You can see who was awarded. So once the project has ran its course, and you've got your quotes in, you award it, the agreed upon delivery date, the amount that was agreed upon, and then that gets awarded to them. These other two get a polite email that, hey, thanks, but maybe next time type of email, where this one actually gets the intent, an email of intent. And then from there, you could attach your PO to it to send over as well. But what's really nice, to go back to what you were just talking about a minute ago, Kurt, is that solving that problem of the communication around a project. All the communication inside of a project happens inside of the project. Everybody who has access to that project inside of a company would have access to that communication. So if Nicole's on vacation and she's got a project going and you're trying to follow up so you don't have to disturb her, all that information, all those conversations, the communication is right inside that project. And while the project is active after it's been awarded, communication continue. So if someone in manufacturing has a question about manufacturability on it and needs to tweak a tolerance, they have the ability to ask that right through the platform, be captured inside the platform, and live there forever, which is extremely important. Not to mention, going back to what was talked about a little bit earlier, you know who you're dealing with. So it's not a game of telephone during the course of a project if something needs to change. You're actually just talking to the person who owns the project and talking to the person who's making it. So that disconnect is not there. Plus, you have all of that past conversation as well around a project. So say you go to do this project again, you want to look at who your previous bidders were and what questions were asked or their past quotes. You can just go right back into that old project, look at that information again, because maybe it's going to be 3 times the scale this time and you want to involve a couple suppliers to limit your risk. Documentation around the project. File size up to 150 gigabytes, so you can share large 3D models in that ITAR secure, FedRAMP secure environment right inside the platform. So, which that is huge, because that is a problem and challenge for a lot of small and medium-sized manufacturers, is receiving those documents. You email them out, and next thing you know, you've got to do some sort of other file sharing that requires a password to jump in or anything like that. Yeah. And it lives right here in the platform. And if you've given them the ability to download it, they can download it to use one of their other programs to potentially, set up their machines to run it or do their quoting if they're using some sort of 3D modeling for quoting.
Okay, dude. All right. Let's take a pause here first.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Karen says, "Wow, she's doing the happy dance," and so this is just absolutely amazing. And you look at the efficiency, like you're saying, like someone's on vacation, just that email trap, that email disaster of hey, Damon, did you get this? Hey, did you see this? Da da da. Files too big, not secure. Not to mention, folks that are using, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to insult anybody out there using Excel. We had a CEO of a company on Friday, and we were talking about when you're in Excel hell of trying to manage projects like this, you have a secure on cloud base that this is just so powerful. Damon, could you have used this when you were in your manufacturing days, or what do you think?
Definitely, because for me looking at it, as Karen said, the NDAs, the ITAR registration, the AS9100, if you're in the aerospace or in another industry, those certifications are huge, because then you can quickly go into your suppliers that could potentially do what you need to do. And the communication is so key, because when you get into these large multi-component assemblies, there's all kinds of questions that happen, there's all kinds of questions that happen back and forth. And trying to manage these through email with 10 different suppliers is just tough as heck. Right. And, and when you have clearly articulated the answers to one, then you may even be able to push push those other ones out to everyone else too, these answers, and update the project with more answers as you go along to be able to make sure everyone understands, so you can get better quotes and better, get your needs fulfilled better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's cool.
Bret, so I have a quick question for you, my friend. When you kind of like, you're the visionary, the brainchild, what was going on in your life that you saw like, man, there's just a tremendous problem going on here. Like, where were you at in life, or what made you earlier you said, I bet my career on this. Why did you believe in this so deeply that you're willing to bet your career on this?
But, candidly, it's actually really fun to work with professionals like Trevor. And we've got a bunch of insiders that grew up in estimating and grew up in actually in the midst of all of this pain. Because you even heard my intro, like there is a strategic problem that I think we need to solve as a country. We need to solve it socially. We need to solve it economically. Yeah. The Department of Defense needs to solve it. They're running around complaining about a 40% reduction in their supply chain here over the last 10 years. And so, the initial hypothesis is that there's a thing here. And then obviously the details matter, right? And this gets to, Karen's points of like, okay, how did the list work and what do we got here and so on. And so, this is not any of these entrepreneurs that stand up and kind of take full ownership of the implementation of an idea, I think are kind of full of it, because it really does take a lot of different perspectives coming at a problem from a lot of different areas. So we've got to, so I respectfully choose to answer that question in a different way. We're going deeper into this over time, right? Like our customers are pulling us deeper and deeper into the project management and project execution space. So you can't, and I don't actually think, Trevor, it's worth time trying to demo this right now. But like once you award a project, you essentially transition into like a project management mode. And we are not trying to make like industry shattering project management software here. And a lot of companies that have made super complicated project management stuff, and that's all great. But wouldn't it be great if I could like have a pizza tracker where my supplier is like, hey, you're on time, your shit, like something like that, like at that level of detail. And again, with the idea that we're trying to be the relationship fabric and prevent you from having to call all your suppliers once a week to be like, hey, are you on time? Are you on time? So we're going there. And then at the end of a project, when you close it out, we ask you questions around on time, on quality, and on cost. And really that's for you as a buyer, right? So look, Trevor's ahead of me here. So the idea is that we can collect data, but this is actually not we're not going to Amazon review Supplier. That's not our business. But our business is you as a buyer. Like, wouldn't it be great to have a dashboard of all of your suppliers over the past 10 years and be like, oh yeah, these guys or gals were great. These people I needed to pay extra attention to, and actually have a system there that when you look at huge tier ones and so on, they have these very sophisticated portals and all this kind of stuff that you have to go in. But down lower, it's Excel hell and PowerPoint hell. And, maybe some ERPs have some functionality that people do. We just think there's an opportunity to facilitate this whole piece from, I have a job to be done. Who's the best supplier in my supply chain that I trust? If I don't have some, how can I easily pull someone in and invite them to be part of my supply chain? And then how do I go from PO, into project management, into kind of learning and getting better over time?
Well, I remember, Bret, you were going to call this iknowaguy.com, but you decided to go with Sustainment. Did I have that conversation? I think you and I talked about that before. But Trevor, is there anything else as we're running through the demo that you really want to show the folks here dude, you're blowing a lot of minds here right now. Do you want to show anything else here?
Trevor, just so we have some love for folks on the supplier side. Actually, This is useful on both, but this whole you're ahead of me here.
Yep. Figured that was where you're going to go. So the ability, Supplier can come in here and go to the opportunities tab and really come in. You can see right now there's these opportunities from A3D manufacturing and RE3D. They can click on that project name, learn a little bit about that project to see if it's a good fit for the processes they do, and then click participate if they want to submit a quote for that project. If they want to jump in, get access, sign the NDA, get access to the 3D models, the prints, whatever, verify terms and conditions, all of that. And then if they want to, submit a quote for that. And really, it's a two-step process. They request to participate, and then A3D Manufacturing, in this case, for the one I have up, they would actually accept them to participate. It's not like they just get the opportunity. It's A3D is going to look at their profile, say, yep, they look like a good fit, and let's go ahead and move forward, and they would accept them. So
yeah, and if I can layer on that real quick. So if you think of back in the project creation workflow, I mean, we find that the majority of the time I've got a couple of heat treating companies that I trust or whatever. So I build a project, I invite the companies I know, and then I work through this process to be more efficient, et cetera. But if there are cases where I don't actually have a company I want to work with, or maybe I want to really broadcast this to bring new companies into my supply chain. So what's happening is, as a buyer, I can say, post this to the sustainment community. And that's how this lands on the community page that anybody can come look at. So, again, if you're a supplier now, here's a couple of jobs that are posted to the community now. You can request to participate. And again, we're not doing this with software, et cetera. We're actually saying, so you can say, hey, I'm a good fit for this because of this experience. The buyer can look at it and be like, I agree. I'll include you in my process. Or, I don't agree. You seem like you're out to lunch and I don't want to spend time on you. But facilitating the relationship development and connectivity, which speaks to a lot of the frustration we hear from manufacturing suppliers who are like, I don't know, I throw my bid in and they're clearly just going lowest cost, and I never get to talk to anybody. I never get to present why we're better or why we should be considered. And so that's another facet of this thing.
I love this. And, you guys, your tagline, manufacturers, manufacturing solution made by manufacturers for manufacturers. And you also say the next era of global supply chain technology. And this, I'm just blown away. And I had Bret, when you and I talked last year and met some of your team, I had an idea of what you guys, did and do. Now, are you constantly, are you in constant, digging in with clients and creating new solutions, or how does that work as far as communication with your clients and add-ons to your solution here?
Oh, the velocity at which businesses grow and evolve at this day is actually so fun. I mean, this is actually the most fun. I make a joke with the team that I say, look, there's going to come a time in 5 years or 10 years where we're arguing over should the button be blue or yellow to increase conversion by 3% or whatever. Yeah. But that's not now. Now is actually entirely new workflows around and system connectivity, and who should we be integrated with, and how can we be, again, a good partner across the ecosystem here to be this connective tissue in between manufacturing suppliers. So this is, we just redid the search interface last week. Next week, there's a lot. It's happening quickly. Yeah.
It never, when you have a product like this, it's never ending. Nicole, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to ask. I mean, it seems like you've had a lot of organic growth in terms of your suppliers and your buyers that are coming on the platform. Other people are using it naturally. They'll bring their buyers or suppliers into the platform. What are your other strategies just to try to just really get some even more momentum on trying to get more and more manufacturers on the platform?
Yeah, so there are a couple of ways that we do this, right? So one of our most interesting and candidly productive relationships is that we actually are trying to partner with the other ecosystem participants here, who we feel have kind of aligned objectives in upskilling and uplifting small and medium American manufacturing. And so these are, the anchor of these are probably the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, which is funded under the Department of Commerce through NIST and has a group at every state. So, using the MEPs as an example, so we go to the MEPs and say, look, our incentives are aligned in terms of we are trying to help manufacturers. Again, our business, we monetize on the buyer side. So buyers having access to more better qualified suppliers is helpful for us. And so we partner with groups like the MEPs to basically power the manufacturing network of, I think we're in 12 or 13 states right now. And in that relationship, we've got folks at, again, at not just the MEP, but at associations, at, chambers of commerce, even at all of these different types of groups that exist to support manufacturers, where we provide technology where they can, as you can see, just think of from that perspective, they can more efficiently organize, create lists, reach out, support manufacturers, etc. But it's only useful to the state of Colorado, for example, if manufacturers are on there. So then we're aligned and we reach out to them together. And as you all know, this is a very, it's a personal industry, and it requires personal relationships, trust, and, boots on the ground and so on. And, and as a growing software company here in Austin, we're not everywhere. And so we really value these partnerships with support organizations across the country.
Well, that's fantastic. And I know, Trevor, when you first started, you pulled up that resource page, and I just love that because I saw some associations. You mentioned that, Bret, you just mentioned the MEPs. We're dear friends with the Manufacturing Extension Partnerships. And so love that you're aligning with those folks, and you're just delivering such high value. What a great solution that you have. Trevor, I know I want to be respectful. I know you guys are super busy saving the world and just delivering this awesome product. Why don't you could you take us home? Any last things that you want to show us on the demo here?
I think probably the last thing I'd want to actually show you in the demo is to more have a discussion of that I have with so many manufacturers. And that is whether you're a startup, newer manufacturer, smaller facility, wanting to build out the best processes from the beginning for your supply and buying side, we're a great fit for that. And to give a story of a customer I spoke to a few weeks ago who took over after a procurement professional had retired after almost 30 years. The way he was trying to find who he outsourced to was by going to accounts receivable and seeing who they were paying. This is a way to keep your company from falling into that trap and being organized from the beginning. What was awesome about that conversation is about a week later, I was having a conversation with the manufacturer procurement professional who had been with the company for 37 years, managed their procurement for 27 years. And when I asked him how he chose his outsource partners, he said, well, I just start typing in their names. I was like, how does that get duplicated when you leave? We have the answer for how that gets duplicated when you leave, because he can still just type their name in. We have a search field, but now it's not, no one's digging through someone's emails or spreadsheets or going off of their experiences or calling Bill after he retired 2 months ago saying, hey, who do we go to for this? And we solve for that, and we solve for it nicely and extremely affordably with an easy, no-cost entry point for a small manufacturer.
Trevor, I'm sorry, Nicole. We need to have you back. Now, I have a question. So going through your accounts payable is not a great way to find suppliers. Is that what you're implying? I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed here, Trevor. Is that what you're implying here?
I'm going to say no, but I'm hoping he had a good accounts payable to at least go to and tap into, and it wasn't he was flipping through a ledger.
That's right. Well, we need to have you back on because you know what? My goodness, with the baby boomers and, Damon and I are Gen Xers with this massive retirement, and they're leaving a legacy, all that thought process is stuck in everybody's mind. That could be a whole show in itself. Nicole, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That was exactly what I was going to say. Is so many of these manufacturers have, these experts that have been on the team for decades, and all of that tribal knowledge is just sitting in their head, right? And like for these businesses to really be able to grow into the future, they got to get it out and have a process that it was very easy for other people on the team, new people to come pick up and very quickly be able to get the work done that they need to do. So I think that's a great point, Kurt and Trevor. I second that 100%.
Well, when you look at this and you look at your supply chain, it's often one, if not the most critical things in being able to run a successful manufacturing business is knowing you're going to get your stuff from the right people on time, all that. But the as you were saying, Nicole, Kurt, and Trevor and Bret, it's like this is like a CRM for your supply chain, right? But it's got the features that you need in a supply chain, but it's got the cool features like a CRM does, where you can go to Damon in a CRM and go, okay, what have we talked to Damon over the last 25 years if you use them right? And what projects have we worked on, and all this kind of stuff that you really want to understand from a supply chain perspective. So exactly like you were saying, Trevor, you don't go back through and look in your AP and trying to figure out who we bought stuff from, because you don't have the details in it, even if you did, right? And just the detail that you've gone through in here to all the way to the NDAs and the registrations and how the quotes are released and having the bigger network to go through is incredible. And then Bret, the way that you guys are rolling this out, being a public benefit corporation, working together with the associations and the MEPs, you're getting it in the hands of people that really need to use it.
Yeah.
Well, and look, to bring this kind of to come back high level, I know I started a little high level at the beginning here, but I think it is existentially important that we digitize and upskill and uplift manufacturing across the United States, which means this middle layer. I mean, again, when you talk about manufacturing, all the news stories are, big company X or big company Y. But again, the combat power of American manufacturing is in this segment.
Yep.
And I think it all happens as an ecosystem, right? I mean, these are all brilliant businesses that are really good at what they're good at, and they organize in different ways. They combine in different ways. And I don't think there's like a clear understanding of that when everybody looks at manufacturing strategy for the United States. It's around, let's drive investment in technology X or technology Y. But really, it's this whole ecosystem and how these companies partner together, how they work together, how they enter new industries, how they digitize and invest in new technologies and robots and new software and all of that kind of stuff. Like that's all happening now. And it's kind of fun to be part of.
Well, I agree. So I know we're coming into time. Trevor, I'm going to pull us all back on stage here. Yep. So, all right, first off, how about a huge round of applause for our esteemed guests here today? So Trevor, yay. Bret, thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule for joining us. Trevor, parting thoughts, words of wisdom that you would like to share as we close out from your perspective?
I think my wisest words were my last ones, and I don't think I can top those. But it's just, it's coming from the manufacturing environment. It's awesome to be a part of the solution instead of a part of the problem. And honestly, I can say I seeing the things we've solved. I know that, in companies I've worked for in the past, I was a guy making spreadsheets, and I was a guy with tribal knowledge working with other people with tribal knowledge and perpetuating the problem. So it's awesome to be a part of the solution and putting that in front of people.
Well, I absolutely love it. Phenomenal. Just outstanding ovation for both of you guys. Bret, thank you for being a visionary, for bringing this dream to life, for your entrepreneurial drive. Extremely inspirational. Parting thoughts, words of wisdom that you want to share with folks today as we close out?
I mean, I don't think so. I think just to continue to pile on to the answer of the question of like, how do you get the word out there? I responded all of the ecosystem partners and so on, and I appreciate you bringing that up. But candidly, things like this are the other way that we get the word out there. And so I do see you all as part of this ecosystem, and I appreciate the role that you all play. Like this kind of stuff helps, because again, we are trying to help a segment of the U.S. economy that is heads down doing work. These men and women and not be sitting at their computer waiting to get your like email marketing message. These are folks that have stuff to do. And I respect that. I respect that. But it's, but it also means we need a lot of channels and a lot of partners, and it takes an ecosystem. So I appreciate what you all do as well.
Takes a village. Well, Bret, and again, as we open up the program, if anybody missed it, thank you. I know you're extremely humble when I say this, but we applaud you, salute you for serving our country, 4 tours on Iraq, West Point grad, and just my admiration for both of you of what you're doing to help manufacturers make their lives easier, make their lives more efficient, have a one place, a hub of information. So when people transition out, that it's all there. We've got to have you back. And so we can dig in further. We welcome everybody. Connect with Trevor on LinkedIn, connect with Bret on LinkedIn, go to sustainment.tech, tell your friends, your family, your dog, anybody that you know that has manufacturers in your world, that there's a great solution, and it's sitting right here at Sustainment. So guys, thank you for joining us. Bret, did you have another word that you want to say?
Yeah, I was just going to foot stomp on that. So if you go to our website, in the top right corner of the screen, there's a Join Now button, and it'll take you like 3 minutes. You'll say, are you a buyer or a supplier or both? And then you'll be in it. And again, no cost, no big time commitment, but please come check us out. And then as you join, if you have any questions, please let us know. But yeah, sustainment.tech, Join Now in the top right corner. I just wanted to stomp on that. Thanks, Kurt.
Awesome, guys. Nicole, as always, thank you for joining. We just need that female perspective. All these dudes on stage. Damon, thank you, my brother. Appreciate you. We're going to be back here. We have a great guest on Friday, so just go out there, boy. If you weren't inspired today, man, I don't know. I was super inspired. Go out and just be someone's inspiration, just like Trevor, just like Bret. Keep crushing it, guys. Bret, Trevor, hang out with us for 1 second, and we just wish everybody an amazing, incredible week. Thank you, guys. And there we go.